They lied to you. They told you to wait your turn, to be humble, to ask permission, to play fair. And while you waited, someone else took what should have been yours. They didn't ask. They didn't apologize. They just took. And you know what? The world rewarded them for it. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. The strong don't wait for permission. The strong don't negotiate with weakness. The strong take what they want, and the world bends to accommodate them. You've been conditioned to feel guilty about your ambition, to apologize for your hunger, to shrink yourself so others feel comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of power. Guilt is a cage they built to keep you controllable. Machiavelli understood something most people never will. Morality is a weapon the weak use against the strong. Rules are suggestions written by people who fear what you could become. And the moment you realize this, the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more, everything changes. You stop being prey, you become the predator. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop pretending? Are you ready to take what's yours? Comment below, I take what's mine. Number 1. The illusion of fairness. Listen carefully because this will shatter everything you thought you knew about how the world works. Fairness is a fairy tale they sell to keep you passive, a sedative for the ambitious, a lie wrapped in moral superiority to make you accept mediocrity as virtue. The universe doesn't care about fair, nature doesn't care about fair. The lion doesn't ask the gazelle for permission, the storm doesn't apologize for destroying what stood in its path. Power flows to those who seize it, not to those who deserve it. You've been taught that if you work hard enough, if you're good enough, if you follow the rules precisely enough, success will find you. That's the greatest con ever sold. While you're busy being fair, someone else is being effective. While you're worried about what people think, they're taking the promotion, the opportunity, the relationship, the life you wanted. Machiavelli said it best, the man who adapts his actions to the times prospers, and the one whose actions clash with the times does not. The times demand ruthlessness. The times reward aggression. The times belong to those who understand that power respects only power. You don't get what you deserve in this life. You get what you take. You get what you're willing to fight for without hesitation, without apology, without the weakness of asking permission from people who want you to fail. Section 2. The mask of civility. Society functions on a delicate lie, a carefully constructed illusion that everyone plays by the same rules, that civilization has somehow evolved beyond the brutal laws of nature, that we're all equals dancing in harmony towards some collective good. But peel back the veneer and you'll see the truth. Every interaction is a power dynamic. Every conversation a negotiation. Every smile a calculated move on an invisible chessboard. The most dangerous people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who openly display their ruthlessness. They're the ones who've mastered the art of appearing harmless while systematically dismantling everyone in their path. They speak softly while sharpening knives. They smile while stealing your opportunities. They preach collaboration while hoarding control. This is dark psychology in its purest form. Understanding that human behavior is predictable, exploitable, and ultimately self-serving beneath all the noble rhetoric. Machiavelli understood that appearing virtuous is more valuable than being virtuous, that the mask matters more than the face beneath it. People don't reward authenticity, they reward the performance of what they want to see, so you learn to wear the mask. You learn to speak their language while thinking in your own dialect. You learn to make them feel safe while you position yourself 3 moves ahead. This isn't deception, this is survival at the highest level. The weak call it manipulation because they lack the intelligence to play the game themselves. The strong recognize it as simply understanding human nature and refusing to be a victim of it. You want to know the secret of untouchable men? They never reveal their full hand. They never explain their strategy. They move in silence while others announce their intentions and wonder why they fail. Comment below, I move in silence. The world belongs to those who understand that power is a game played in shadows. not in the spotlight where fools parade their ambitions for everyone to sabotage. Number 3. The death of weakness. You need to understand something fundamental. Weakness is not a personality trait you're born with. It's a choice you make every single day, a comfortable surrender to fear disguised as humility, a slow suicide of potential that society applauds because your smallness makes others feel better about their own mediocrity. Every time you silence your ambition to avoid conflict, you choose weakness. Every time you shrink your goals to match someone else's expectations, you choose weakness. Every time you apologize for wanting more, for being more, for demanding more from life, you're participating in your own destruction. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can control and accept what we cannot, but too many men have twisted this wisdom into passive acceptance of circumstances they're too afraid to change. Real Stoicism isn't about enduring suffering, it's about becoming so internally fortified that external circumstances cannot shake your resolve, so mentally dominant that obstacles become opportunities, so emotionally detached from outcomes that you can pursue your goals with ruthless efficiency without the paralysis of fear. Machiavelli knew that fortune favors the bold, that she is a woman who must be taken by force, that timidity produces nothing but regret. The masculine energy the world desperately needs isn't toxic. It's the refusal to be domesticated, the rejection of comfort over conquest, the understanding that your life is a kingdom and you are either a king or a peasant, pretending the difference doesn't matter. Weakness manifests in 1,000 ways. The conversation you didn't start, the boundary you didn't enforce, the disrespect you tolerated, the opportunity you watched someone else seize because you were too busy calculating the risks. Strong men don't calculate risks the way weak men do. They calculate the cost of inaction, the price of remaining small, the guarantee of regret that comes from living a life designed by others. You want power? Kill the part of you that seeks approval. You want respect? Stop giving it to people who haven't earned it. You want success? Stop treating it like something you have to deserve and start treating it like something you simply take. The strong don't wait for permission because they understand a truth that makes the weak uncomfortable. In the end, all permission is self-granted anyway. All authority is self-claimed. All power is seized by those willing to reach out and grab it while others stand frozen by the delusion that someone else will hand it to them if they just wait long enough and behave well enough. Number 4. The weapon of detachment. The moment you stop needing anything from anyone is the moment you become truly dangerous, because need creates leverage, and leverage creates control, and the man who can walk away from anything is the man who controls everything. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it's clarity, the ability to see situations and people for exactly what they are, without the distortion of desperation, hope, or the pathetic need for validation that cripples most men before they even begin to fight. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, but what he really meant was that emotional investment in how others perceive you is a weakness that will be exploited by everyone smart enough to recognize it. Dark psychology reveals that people will test your boundaries constantly, pushing to see where you break, where you compromise, where your need for their approval makes you negotiable. The strong man has no negotiable boundaries. He doesn't threaten, he doesn't warn twice, he simply removes access, withdraws presence, and moves forward without the backward glance that signals regret or second-guessing. This is where most men fail. They confuse detachment with cruelty, stoicism with suppression, power with aggression. Real power is quiet. Real power doesn't need to announce itself because it's evident in every decision, every boundary, every moment you choose your path over their comfort. When you stop caring if they understand you, they start working to be understood by you. When you stop chasing, they start wondering why you stopped. When you stop explaining yourself, they start creating stories that make you more powerful than you actually are. And perception is reality in the game of social dominance. The weak spend their lives managing perceptions through explanation and justification, exhausting themselves in an endless performance for an audience that will criticize them anyway. The strong understand that mystery creates mystique, that silence commands more respect than speeches, that the less you reveal, the more people project onto you their own fears and fascinations. You want to know why some men walk into rooms and immediately command attention without saying a word? It's not charisma, it's detachment. It's the energy of someone who genuinely doesn't need anything from anyone present, who isn't performing or posing or peacocking for validation. It's the quiet confidence of a man who has killed his ego's need for external confirmation and replaced it with an internal knowing that requires no witnesses. Comment below, I need nothing from no one. This is the paradox that destroys weak men. The more you need success, the more it evades you. The more you need respect, the less you receive it. The more you need love, the more you repel it. Desperation has a smell that people detect unconsciously, and it marks you as prey rather than predator. Master detachment and you master the game, because you become the only player who can afford to lose, which means you're the only player who truly wins. Everything in life negotiates with you differently when you demonstrate through action, not words, that you're perfectly content to walk away and never look back. Number 5. The hierarchy of dominance. Understand this fundamental truth that will change everything. Hierarchies exist in every space you occupy, every room you enter, every relationship you maintain, and pretending they don't exist doesn't exempt you from them. It just guarantees you'll occupy the bottom while telling yourself the comforting lie that position doesn't matter. Nature is hierarchical. Wolves have alphas. Primates have dominant structures. Even chickens establish pecking orders, and humans are no different despite the egalitarian fantasy we've constructed to make the weak feel better about their position. The Machiavellian realist doesn't fight against nature. He understands it, accepts it, and uses it to his advantage, while others waste energy denying what's obvious to anyone paying attention. Every social interaction is a subtle negotiation of status. Who speaks first? Who interrupts? Whose time is valued? Whose opinion carries weight? Who leads and who follows? Most people navigate these interactions unconsciously, reacting rather than strategizing, which is why they're perpetually confused about why certain people seem to effortlessly command respect while they constantly fight for scraps of recognition. The dark psychology of dominance is simple. People are hardwired to follow strength and test weakness, to submit to certainty and rebel against hesitation, to respect boundaries enforced and violate boundaries that are merely suggested. You don't climb hierarchies by being liked. You climb them by being respected, and respect is earned through demonstrated competence, enforced boundaries, and the willingness to make decisions others are too afraid to make. Machiavelli observed that men are generally ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous, and the prince who relies entirely on their promises will be ruined, because those who advise you to be good in all circumstances are leading you to destruction. This isn't cynicism, it's pattern recognition. This is understanding that people respect power more than principle, that they admire strength more than kindness, that they remember how you made them feel small or large, but rarely remember the content of what you said. The masculine stoic doesn't complain about this reality. He leverages it. He understands that leading means making unpopular decisions, that respect means being willing to stand alone, that dominance means having the conviction to act while others debate and discuss themselves into irrelevance. You want to rise. Stop seeking consensus. Stop waiting for everyone to agree with your vision. Stop diluting your standards to accommodate people who will never match them. The strong don't build democracies. They build empires, and empires require a singular vision executed with unwavering commitment regardless of who gets uncomfortable in the process. This is where nice guys fail. They think leadership means being everyone's friend, that authority means being voted most popular, that power comes from making everyone happy. But happiness is not your responsibility, and the moment you make it your mission to keep everyone comfortable, you become a servant rather than a leader, a people pleaser rather than a king, a victim of every person smart enough to manipulate your need to be liked. Comment below, I am the hierarchy. Position yourself at the top of your own hierarchy first, your values, your standards, your non-negotiables, and watch how quickly external hierarchies begin to reflect your internal sovereignty. The man who has conquered himself, who has established absolute dominance over his own impulses, fears, and weaknesses, walks into every situation already victorious because he's competing against people still at war with themselves, still negotiating with their own mediocrity, still hoping someone will give them permission to become what they already have the power to be. Number 6. The architecture of control. Power is not something you stumble upon or something that falls into your lap through luck or chance. Power is systematically constructed through deliberate choices made consistently over time, through the careful architecture of relationships where you hold leverage, through the strategic positioning of yourself as indispensable rather than replaceable, through the cultivation of skills that create dependency in others while you remain autonomous and self-sufficient. Machiavelli understood that the wise prince builds his foundations on what he controls, not on what others promise, because promises are words, and words evaporate under pressure, while control endures through the mechanics of necessity. This is the dark psychology principle that separates those who wield power from those who serve it. You must engineer situations where people need you more than you need them, where your absence creates problems they cannot solve, where your presence provides value they cannot replicate. Most men give away their power in tiny increments without realizing it. They make themselves available at all hours. They solve everyone's problems without building reciprocal obligation. They share their knowledge freely without ensuring it translates to leverage. They confuse generosity with strategy and wonder why nobody respects their contributions. The Machiavellian operator thinks 3 moves ahead, understanding that every favor granted is an investment in future influence, that every problem solved creates dependency, that scarcity of your time and attention increases their perceived value exponentially. You want control? Master the art of strategic unavailability. Be the man who doesn't answer every call, doesn't attend every meeting, doesn't rush to fill every silence with explanation or justification. Scarcity creates desire, and desire creates leverage, and leverage is the currency of power in every domain, from business to relationships to social dynamics. The weak are always available because they're afraid of missing opportunities, but this very availability signals low value because people subconsciously understand that someone truly valuable is selective about where they invest their finite resources of time and energy. Control comes from understanding the game theory behind every interaction. What does this person want from me? What do I want from them? Who has more to lose if this interaction ends? Who is more willing to walk away? Who is negotiating from strength and who is negotiating from desperation? The strong man never reveals his full hand, never expresses how much he wants something, never allows his emotions to broadcast his position, because transparency is a weapon your opponents will use against you the moment they understand what matters to you. This is not dishonesty. This is strategic ambiguity, the art of keeping people guessing, of maintaining multiple options while appearing committed to one, of creating the impression that you could pivot at any moment because you're not emotionally invested in any particular outcome. Stoicism teaches us to prefer what happens, but Machiavellianism teaches us to make what we prefer happen through the systematic application of pressure, incentive, and consequence. You don't control outcomes through force. You control them through the architecture of choices you present to others, making your preferred option appear to be their best option, aligning their self-interest with your objectives so they believe they're acting autonomously while actually fulfilling your agenda. This is the highest form of power, when people do what you want them to do while believing it was entirely their idea, when they advocate for your position without realizing you planted the seed, when they compete for your approval without you having to demand it. The weak try to control through demands and ultimatums, burning relationships and creating resentment. The strong control through invisible architecture, through the careful construction of environments where certain behaviors are rewarded and others are ignored, where movement in your direction feels natural and movement away feels costly. You want to architect control in your life? Start by controlling the frame of every interaction. You decide what's discussed and what's off limits. You decide the pace and the intensity. You decide when conversations begin and when they end. Frame control is reality control because humans don't experience objective reality. They experience interpreted reality filtered through frames, and whoever controls the frame controls the interpretation. When someone tries to pull you into their frame, their reality, their urgency, you simply don't enter. You remain anchored in your own frame, your own timeline, your own priorities, and you invite them to join you there if they want access to you. This subtle repositioning changes everything because now they're operating in your world by your rules, and people instinctively submit to strong frames while resisting weak ones. Comment below, I control the frame. The architecture of control extends to your reputation, your image, the stories people tell about you when you're not in the room. These narratives must be carefully managed, not through desperate image control, but through consistent demonstration of your values, your boundaries, your standards. People will create stories about you regardless. But if your actions consistently reinforce a particular narrative, that narrative solidifies into reputation, and reputation precedes you into every new situation, doing the work of establishing your position before you even arrive. Build the architecture of control brick by brick, interaction by interaction, boundary by boundary, until you exist at the center of a system where value flows toward you, where opportunities seek you out, where people compete for your time and attention rather than you competing for theirs. And you'll understand what Machiavelli meant when he said, "Fortune is the arbiter of half our actions, but she still leaves the other half, governed by us." Number 7. The elimination of mercy. Mercy is a luxury afforded only to those who have already secured their position, and even then it's a calculated display rather than genuine compassion, because in the ruthless mathematics of power, every act of mercy must serve a strategic purpose, or it becomes a liability that others will exploit to bring you down. Machiavelli warned that the prince who is too compassionate will allow disorders to arise from which murder and rapine spring, because these harm the whole community while his acts of mercy harm only particular individuals. And this calculus, prioritizing the collective outcome over individual suffering, separates those who rule from those who are ruled. The weak confuse mercy with virtue, kindness with strength, forgiveness with wisdom. But these are the delusions of people who have never held real power and don't understand that every enemy you spare is an enemy who will return stronger. Every boundary you fail to enforce is an invitation for greater violations. Every act of unearned forgiveness is interpreted as weakness by those calculating how far they can push you. This is dark psychology at its most pragmatic. People don't respect mercy. They exploit it, they test it. They see how many times you'll turn the other cheek before they conclude you're simply too weak to retaliate. The Machiavellian realist understands that cruelty, when necessary and executed swiftly, prevents greater cruelty later, that one decisive act of ruthlessness eliminates 1,000 small acts of disrespect, that the reputation for being unmerciful protects you from challenges that waste your time and energy. You don't become powerful by being nice. You become powerful by being just, and justice often requires the elimination of those who threaten the order you've built, the removal of people who cannot be reformed or rehabilitated or reasoned with because their nature is fundamentally opposed to your mission. The masculine stoic doesn't lose sleep over these eliminations because he understands that his first obligation is to his own standards, his own vision, his own survival, and anyone who threatens these must be cut away with the same dispassion a surgeon removes a tumor. Sentimentality is a poison that kills empires, destroys businesses, ruins relationships, and ensures your downfall, because while you're busy being merciful to those who don't deserve it, they're busy plotting how to take what's yours. The strong man draws clear lines. Cross this line once and you receive a warning. Cross it twice and you cease to exist in my world, not out of anger or emotion, but out of the simple recognition that you've demonstrated your nature and I accept what you've shown me. This is not cruelty, this is clarity, the refusal to engage in the exhausting dance of giving people endless chances to prove they're exactly who they showed you they were the first time. People tell you who they are through their actions, and mercy in the face of clear evidence is not compassion. It's cowardice disguised as virtue. It's the inability to make the hard decision because you care more about being perceived as good than actually being effective. Machiavelli observed that men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, but of more serious ones they cannot. Therefore, the injury that is to be done to a man ought to be of such a kind that one does not stand in fear of revenge. This is the calculus the weak refuse to learn. Half measures create enemies, while decisive action creates examples. You don't need to be cruel to everyone. You need to be strategically ruthless with those who challenge you, creating a reputation that precedes you and prevents 99 challenges because everyone witnessed what happened to the one person who tested you. The elimination of mercy doesn't mean becoming a monster. It means becoming someone who values his own peace, his own progress, his own power more than he values the comfort of people who add no value to his life. It means understanding that your time, your energy, your attention are finite resources that must be allocated to people and projects that deserve them, and that continuing to invest in people who have proven themselves unworthy is not kindness, it's self-destruction. Comment below, no second chances. The merciful man spends his life being taken advantage of by those who recognize his inability to cut them off, his need to be seen as good, overriding his need to be respected, his fear of being alone stronger than his commitment to his standards. The unmerciful man, the one who eliminates without hesitation and without apology, surrounds himself only with people who have earned their position, who understand that proximity to him is a privilege that can be revoked instantly, who operate at his standard because they know anything less means removal. And this selective brutality creates an environment where excellence is the baseline and mediocrity is simply not tolerated because it knows it won't survive. Number 8. The consolidation of empire. Everything you've built means nothing if you cannot defend it, expand it, and ensure it survives beyond the immediate moment, because power unconsolidated is power temporary, vulnerable to the countless forces that seek to tear down anyone who dares to rise above the mediocre masses who prefer everyone remain at their level. Machiavelli understood that acquiring power and maintaining power require completely different skill sets. The bold aggression that wins territories must transform into strategic consolidation that makes those territories unassailable. The revolutionary fire that overthrows the old order must become the institutional structure that prevents new revolutionaries from doing to you what you did to those before you. This is where most men fail. They achieve some level of success and immediately become complacent. They reach a milestone and treat it as a destination rather than a checkpoint. They win a battle and act like the war is over, and this softening, this relaxation of intensity, this belief that they can finally rest, is precisely when everything they built begins to crumble. The dark psychology of empire is understanding that you have no allies, only interests temporarily aligned, that everyone around you is calculating their own advantage and will turn the moment it serves them. That loyalty is a fairy tale people tell themselves to justify why they haven't been betrayed yet. Your empire, whether it's a business, a reputation, a network, a life you've constructed from nothing, must be built on systems that function without trust, on structures that assume self-interest rather than goodwill, on mechanisms that reward alignment with your vision and punish deviation so consistently that people's natural selfishness actually serves your objectives. You consolidate power by making yourself the center of value creation, the hub through which opportunities flow, the gatekeeper to resources others need, positioning yourself so strategically that removing you would collapse the entire structure and everyone knows it. This is not about being liked. This is about being necessary, about creating such interdependence that even those who resent you cannot afford to oppose you because their own interests are too entangled with yours. The Stoic emperor doesn't rule through constant displays of force. He rules through the architecture of inevitability, where his position appears so permanent, so unassailable, So obviously the natural order that challenging it seems not just dangerous but pointless. You want your empire to last. Document nothing that gives away your strategic advantages. Share no knowledge that eliminates your value. Create no successors who could replace you before you're ready to be replaced. The Machiavellian consolidation strategy is simple. Appear generous while actually giving nothing that diminishes your position. Appear transparent while revealing only what serves your interest to reveal. Appear collaborative while maintaining ultimate decision authority that cannot be voted away or negotiated out of your hands. Most empires fall not from external attacks, but from internal decay. From the slow erosion of standards as the builder becomes comfortable and allows mediocrity to infiltrate. From the gradual delegation of critical functions to people who don't share the founding vision, from the fatal mistake of believing that success is permanent rather than something that must be defended daily with the same intensity that created it initially. Your consolidation phase requires eliminating dependencies on any single person, any single income source, any single skill set, diversifying your power base so thoroughly that no single point of failure can bring down the whole structure. This means multiple revenue streams, multiple networks, multiple skills, multiple options always available, so you're never negotiating from desperation, regardless of what changes in your environment. The unconsolidated empire is a house of cards where one strong wind destroys everything, but the properly consolidated empire is a fortress with redundant defenses, multiple supply lines, strategic reserves, and the capacity to weather any storm because you planned for scenarios others were too optimistic or too lazy to consider. Comment below. I build empires. Consolidation is not passive maintenance. It's active fortification, the daily work of strengthening what you've built, eliminating vulnerabilities, expanding strategic advantages, and ensuring that your position becomes more unassailable with each passing day, rather than slowly degrading through the entropy of neglect that destroys everyone who mistakes arrival for completion. Number 9. The final transformation. You've been given the blueprint, the uncomfortable truths, the strategies that separate kings from peasants, but information without implementation is just entertainment. And entertainment is what weak men consume while strong men take action that transforms their reality from what it is into what they demand it to become. The final transformation is not about learning more. It's about becoming someone fundamentally different, someone who looks at the same world everyone else sees, but interprets it through the lens of power rather than victimhood, through the framework of possibility rather than limitation, through the certainty of entitlement rather than the hesitation of hope. Machiavelli's prince is not born. He is forged through deliberate choices made repeatedly until those choices become nature, until ruthlessness feels as natural as breathing, until strategic thinking replaces emotional reaction as the default mode of operation, until the gap between desire and action collapses completely because you've eliminated every internal obstacle that once made you hesitate. This transformation requires the death of your former self, the version of you that sought approval, that feared conflict, that prioritized being liked over being respected, that apologized for ambition and shrunk to make others comfortable. That version must die completely, not gradually fade, but be executed with extreme prejudice, because you cannot serve two masters. You cannot be both the person others want you to be and the person you must become to claim what's yours. The dark psychology of self-transformation is understanding that your mind will resist this change violently because change represents uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers survival mechanisms designed to keep you safe, not to make you powerful. And safe is the opposite of powerful in every meaningful way. Your transformation happens in the moments you do what you don't want to do, when you enforce a boundary that creates uncomfortable tension, when you walk away from something familiar towards something uncertain, when you choose the hard conversation over comfortable silence, when you stop explaining yourself to people whose opinions don't matter and never did. Every act of courage, no matter how small, rewrites your neural pathways, reshapes your identity, signals to your subconscious that you are someone who acts rather than someone who merely wishes, someone who takes rather than someone who waits for permission. The masculine Stoic embraces discomfort as the price of transformation, understanding that growth happens exclusively outside comfort zones, that the version of you capable of claiming empire-level success cannot emerge from empire-level comfort, but only from the forge of challenge, resistance, and obstacles that most men avoid their entire lives. You want the final transformation? Stop consuming content and start implementing principles. Stop theorizing about power and start exercising it in every interaction. Stop preparing to become dangerous and start being dangerous right now in this moment with the resources you currently possess. Machiavelli wrote for men of action, not philosophers, for those who would rather rule in reality than theorize about ruling in safety, for those willing to risk everything they have to become everything they could be. The moment of transformation is not coming. It's here. It's now. It's in the next decision you make about who you're going to be and what you're going to tolerate and what you're going to take without apology or hesitation or the weakness of seeking validation from people still trapped in the matrix you're about to escape. Comment below, I am transformed. You are not the same person who started this video, not if you truly heard what was said. Not if you allowed these truths to penetrate the armor of comfortable delusions most people wear their entire lives. And now the only question is whether you'll act on this new awareness or return to sleep like everyone else who mistakes information for transformation. Number 10. The covenant of power. This is where we separate those who consume content for entertainment from those who use it as fuel for domination. Because everything you've heard today is worthless unless it translates into immediate action, into decisions made differently, into boundaries enforced that weren't enforced yesterday, into opportunities seized that would have been ignored by the old version of you who died somewhere during this transmission. The strong take what they want not because they're more talented or more deserving, but because they've made a covenant with themselves that cannot be broken. A sacred agreement that their ambition will not be negotiated away for comfort, that their standards will not be lowered for acceptance, that their vision will not be compromised for approval from people living lives they don't even want. Machiavelli's wisdom endures 5 centuries later because it speaks to something timeless in human nature. The eternal truth that power dynamics govern every interaction, whether we acknowledge them or not. That hierarchies exist whether we pretend they don't or not. That the strong will always take from the weak unless the weak become strong enough to defend what's theirs. You've been given the keys to the kingdom, but keys are useless if you lack the courage to unlock the door, to step through into the uncomfortable reality where you're responsible for everything, where excuses die and results matter, where your life becomes the direct reflection of your choices rather than your circumstances. The dark psychology you've learned today is not manipulation, it's understanding, the ability to see clearly how humans actually operate versus how they pretend to operate. And this clarity gives you an advantage so profound that those still trapped in illusions cannot compete with you because they're playing a completely different game with rules that don't actually exist. Your covenant of power is this. From this moment forward, you take what's yours without apology. You enforce your boundaries without explanation. You pursue your vision without asking permission. You eliminate people who drain your energy without guilt. You prioritize your mission over their comfort every single time without exception. This is not a suggestion. This is the price of admission to the realm where real power exists, where men create reality rather than react to it, where empires are built by those willing to do what others find unconscionable, immoral, or too difficult. If this resonates, if you feel something shifting inside you, if you recognize that you've been playing small in a world that rewards only those who play for empire, then prove it right now by commenting one final time, I take what's mine. Hit that like button because the algorithm rewards engagement, and engagement spreads this message to other men who need to hear it. Men still trapped in the lies that kept you small until today. Subscribe to Machiavellian Mode because this is just the beginning, because there are levels of power psychology we haven't even touched yet, strategies we haven't explored, dark truths still waiting to be revealed. Turn on notifications so you never miss the transmission that might be the one that changes everything. The strong take what they want, and what you should want right now is more of this, more clarity, more power, more transformation. Welcome to Machiavellian mode, where we don't apologize for wanting everything, and we definitely don't ask permission to take it.